Alright guys, so I'm going to show you how you can make some homemade gravy, some dark brown gravy. That way you don't have to buy the gravy packets in the grocery store, and basically you can control what's in it and how yours can even taste better than what's in the store. So what you'll need is your choice of oil or butter. Some people like to use oil, some people like to use butter. I use both. I'm actually going to be using some margarine, which is this country crock here, and I'm going to use some oil. You can use whatever oil you like. This is the last of my vegetable oil. I usually don't buy vegetable oil, but this was given to me, so I've been using it. I usually have used some olive oil, which I have some too. But the vegetable oil kind of gives the gravy a better taste than the olive oil, so I'm using uh, quite a bit of this, or what's left of this, because there's not much left. You'll need some either cornstarch, what I'm using, or some flour. I know most people use flour. I'm using cornstarch because I find the consistency is better using the cornstarch, and I prefer it, but to each is his own. You use whatever you like or whatever you have. And then these are my seasonings that's going in the gravy. We got some black pepper here. We got some complete seasoning. We have some chicken bouillon here. We got some liquid smoke, and then some soy sauce. This is just to darken the gravy the way I like it. I don't have any more Worcestershire sauce, so this is what I have and this is what I'm using. You don't have to use this. You can use Worcestershire sauce or whatever you would like. It doesn't matter. And then we're going to go ahead and get started on the base, which is going to be making the roux, which is the cornstarch and the margarine or butter if you have it. Alright, so I got my cast iron skillet. That's about 3 teaspoons of country crock margarine. And we're just going to add some oil. You don't really need a lot. You don't want the gravy too oily. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring this to a simmer on top of the stove. Alright, so I have it on top of the stove. What you want to do is you want to melt the butter into the oil. In my opinion, I think when you use both, it gives the gravy a more richer flavor versus just using one or the other. So I like to use both. You don't have to, but you want to make sure you use either butter, margarine, or you can use oil. So I'm going to let this margarine melt into the oil, and then once it's almost completely melted, we're going to add in the cornstarch, and then we're going to start making our roux by stirring it until it turns into like a paste. And then from there, we're going to add some warm water to start to make our gravy. Alright, so the margarine is almost completely melted. We're going to go ahead and add in our cornstarch. We're going to add about 3 teaspoons of the cornstarch, and then we're going to start to stir it. This is what you call making a roux. And then once we stir it good, it's going to start to darken. And then we're going to add our water to continue to make our gravy. You want to make sure you cook all of the, you want to make sure you cook the cornstarch completely. If you're using flour, you want to make sure you cook the flour to get that raw taste out. I have this on a low heat, by the way, okay? I don't have this on a high heat. I have this on a low heat. I'm going to turn it up just a tad bit because I want this to darken. The more you cook this, the darker it's going to get, which is perfect. That's really what you want if you want dark gravy. You want to cook your roux at least a couple of minutes. You see how it's becoming more smooth? That's what you want. If you hear a boiling noise, that's me cooking my rice. I'm going to have some rice and sausage. I'm going to have some rice and gravy and sausage to eat. Like I said, the longer you cook this, the darker it's going to get. So I'm actually gonna turn my fire up just a little bit. I'm gonna put this kind of like on a low, medium low heat. That way it cooks a little faster. You do not want to cook this on a high heat at all. Do not do that because you're gonna end up burning the roux and you're gonna have to start all over. The gravy's not gonna taste right. Alright, so that's how our roux looks. I've been cooking it for about 5 to 6 minutes. If you want it darker than this, you can let it cook for maybe like another minute or two, but you don't want to cook it too much more than that. And then at this point, we're ready to add our warm water. Now this is going to steam, so you need to be careful with this, alright? So I'm going to keep stirring, and then I'm going to add our water here in just a second. Alright, so I turned my fire completely down on low. We're going to slowly add our water. Alright, and then you want to make sure you constantly stir this. And then you want to make sure you kind of slowly add seasoning. At this point, you'll need to add more water depending on how thin you want the gravy. If you want the gravy thicker, you just basically have to cook it longer. So I'm going to let this cook for maybe a minute or two, and then I'm going to add my seasoning to it. And then my sauces, the soy sauce and the liquid smoke to this. And then we basically just need to let the gravy simmer from that point, and it'll be done in a few minutes. Alright, so it's been about 2 minutes. I have my gravy on a medium heat right now. The longer you cook it, the thicker it's going to get, so we're going to thin it out just a little bit more. The more liquid you add to it, the thinner it's going to be, and the more gravy you're going to have. So I'm going to add a little bit more water. And then we're going to let this cook and come to a simmer. And then I'm going to add my seasonings. Alright, so the gravy is thickening. We're going to go ahead and add in just a little bit of the soy sauce. This is going to turn it darker. We're going to add in some liquid smoke. Then we're going to add in our seasoning. I'm going to go in with the chicken bouillon here. We're going to add our complete seasoning. And then black pepper. And then you just want to stir it. It smells good already. You basically want to let this cook for another 5 minutes or so, and then the gravy is done at that point. Or however thick you want the gravy. If you want it thinner than this, just add more water. If you want it thicker, just cook it longer. That's it. Alright, the gravy is done. What I'm gonna do is turn off the stove, and once the gravy cools off, it's going to thicken even more. But this is all the gravy that I need for what I'm having. As you see, it's very, very dark. One thing that I forgot to include was forgot to show you guys was I added some onion powder to this too. I don't know why I forgot it, but I added a little bit of onion powder, probably about a half a teaspoon or so. And this is it. Like I said, if you want more gravy, you need to add more liquid. But the thing about constantly adding liquid, you're going to have to go back and season it. If you add the seasoning first and then add liquid, it's going to weaken it, and you're not going to be able to taste it as much or taste it at all. So kind of keep that in mind. If you continue to add water to this, you need to go back and add just a little bit more seasoning. That way you and other people can taste it. So I'm going to let this cool off, and then I'll show you guys my meal once it's done and prepped. All right, guys, the fun part you all been waiting for. We're gonna pour this gravy on top of the food. Didn't cook anything too fancy, not too much today, just something basic, but I had a taste for some rice and gravy, so I cooked some rice and made my gravy while I was cooking my rice. So here's the gravy here. We're gonna pour this on top of the rice. We also gonna pour this on top of the sausage and the toast too that I made. That's gonna be good. Watch this. Look at that. Look how dark that gravy is. You can't tell me that don't look good. All right, so let me go ahead and put this back on the stove, clean up my mess real quick, and then we're gonna sit down and eat. All right, it's time to mix this goodness together. Rub the gravy all around. There we go. Incorporate all this rice in this gravy. That's a lot, but I love gravy. You can't miss me with that. Now, if you wanted to make like a white gravy, a country gravy, you would basically do everything that I showed you how to do, and then you would add milk to it, which would change the color and make it a lighter color, more of a white, a dark white or light gray color. And that's basically your country gravy. So I'm gonna go ahead and eat my food, guys. Until next time, you all take care. Have a good day.